It is Market Monday. Each and every Monday, I go over the biggest risers and fallers in average draft position in the best ball markets. I'll discuss whether I'm buying or selling these players at their new prices and why. Ideas to get you up to speed very quickly on what's actually happening out there in drafts and how to adjust. All right, I'm going to start with the fallers today. So, two biggest fallers are obviously Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith. Biggest riser is Tyreek Hill. Going to cover all that stuff from the fallout of the Jonnu Smith trade with Silva on a rankings update show tomorrow. I'm going to begin with three other best ball fallers from the last 7 days I want to hit on. First up, Xavier Worthy down 2.2 spots to 47 overall on DraftKings. Worthy also down 1.4 spots on Underdog, so whole market is shifting here a bit. Note that the news around Rashad Rice continues to be really positive. Chiefs clearly think his knee is 100%. No real news on the criminal side of the court case, so suspension risk on Rashad Rice seems pretty low. Perhaps that Rashad Rice optimism is scaring people on Xavier Worthy some, and I do get that. A lot of Worthy's late season surge last season came in the part of the field where Rashad Rice excels. Worthy far more capable than Rice of getting downfield, winning vertically, so I think he'll see more vertical targets than short area targets this year. So will those deep targets hit with Mahomes this year? We finally saw the connection in the Super Bowl after a ton of near misses in the regular season. Expecting a renewed focus on the deep ball from the Chiefs this season, I think they have better personnel to do it now with all the wide receivers healthy, much improved offensive line. And also, we saw some really positive things from Worthy just generally last season. Yes, Rashad Rice and Hollywood Brown were hurt, but as a 21-year-old rookie, Xavier Worthy earns a 16% target share in the regular season and then 25% in 3 playoff games. That's pretty strong. Only a 60% catch rate last year. I think that's going to rise. We have to leave room for Worthy to get better given how young he is. And also with Worthy, I like Mahomes this year where he goes. Guy was literally fantasy's #1 quarterback in 2022. So yes, I like buying Worthy here as he dips a bit. I like him ahead of Courtland Sutton, ahead of Zay Flowers in that strong range of wide receiver. Looking for the Mahomes stack with Worthy, but not going to force it. Second faller, Collin Lovelin down 1.8 spots to 134 overall on DraftKings. Honestly, I don't get this one. I think people are passing on Loveland because he has a Q tag, a questionable tag, next to his name on DraftKings. But this shoulder injury Loveland has was already known when they drafted him 10th overall. I repeat, 10th overall. Bears say they fully expect Loveland to be ready to rock at some point in training camp. Good reminder, by the way, that there's a big edge on DraftKings if you know which Q tags actually matter, which ones to ignore. Obviously, we track that stuff very closely. If you're using our rankings, we're looking at my player-by-player notes in the best ball product. Shout out to us. It'll be clear which injuries we're actually worried about. But anyways, reminder that Collin Loveland is a pass-catching tight end. That's why the Bears took him so high. I know everyone's excited about Luther Burden, but I think we're going to see a lot of Collin Loveland in the slot, a lot of him detached from the line. Also, reminder that Ben Johnson had Sam Laporta as a stone-cold rookie in Detroit. Laporta went off for 86 catches and 10 touchdowns with Ben Johnson. So we're massively ahead of Loveland in the ranks, and he's one of my most owned players so far. Third and final faller to hit on is Brandon Aiyuk, down 1.8 spots, now going 101 overall on DraftKings, still up at 89 overall on Underdog. I'm really struggling with 49ers stuff, and I think the Aiyuk situation is a big part of what makes it hard. Aiyuk's knee injury was not a clean ACL-only tear, like Steph Diggs and Christian Watson had clean tears. Aiyuk's was messy, ACL, MCL, meniscus damage as well. Vibes have been bad around Aiyuk this offseason, so some speculation from Schefter, Aiyuk won't be ready until midseason. Some weird social media stuff from Aiyuk about being in bed for weeks and he's tilted at the team. So I've been mostly out on Aiyuk pretty much everywhere, especially on Underdog where he goes 89 overall, and I think wide receivers are a bit overvalued. Still, I think the bigger point is we will see Aiyuk's ADP fall even lower once we get to camp and there's more mainstream news about him not practicing, starting on PUP, etc. So I like fading Brandon Aiyuk for now. The other part of this is the Ricky Pearsall price. It's high, and if you think Brandon Aiyuk comes back and plays well, the Pearsall price is probably too high. We are low in the ranks on Pearsall. it's just a scary fade for me because of the things I hit on with the Emeka Egbuka stuff a couple weeks ago on Market Monday. I want to take risks on guys where if they hit, they actually hit big. Like if Pearsall can do Debo things, if Pearsall is actually good, as part of this 49er scheme, he could be a really big hit. Whereas a guy like Keon Coleman, maybe he quote unquote hits this year and beats ADP, but I don't really see a path in that Bills flat target distribution, really run heavy scheme in the red zone. I don't see a path for Keon Coleman to go nuts. So back to the 49ers, clearly George Kittle set up really well. Beyond that, I'm pretty uncomfortable with 49ers across the board, but I want to be mindful of not fading these guys because it's such a productive scheme. Let's get to this week's risers. First one, Rashad White up 3.4 spots to 135 overall on DraftKings. I somehow got branded as some Bucky Irving mega bull. I think Bucky's awesome. He's incredible at making people miss, making big plays. He's going to have a really good season. I take him plenty, especially when he slips into early round 3. But there is not a ton of room for error on volume for Bucky at an ADP of 22 overall. And I don't think the Bucs in standard situations really want Bucky to touch the ball 18, 20 plus times as he did so often over the final 8 games of last season. They were extending his usage as they got into so many must-win spots down the stretch, battling to win the division, make the playoffs. The coaches were asked about it down the stretch, and they were like, yeah, these are must-win games. We think Bucky's our best guy. We're playing Bucky. So in a normal situation, the question is, can Bucky pay off his price at 15 to 17 touches per game? Of course. But 15 to 17 touches per game, that leaves plenty of room for Rashad White to do what he does best. Play on pass downs, catch the football, handle 2 and 4 minute work. It's the profile that works so well on DraftKings at 135 overall. So I have significantly more Rashad White at his price than Bucky at his price right now. Also related to this question is what happens if Bucky misses time. Yes, Rashad White would get more base work and project well for us, but Sean Tucker can play. Remember, Sean Tucker had that huge game, 17 touches, over 190 total yards, 2 touchdowns back in October. He would see a boost as well. Herzig and I did a stream a couple of weeks ago. We took Sean Tucker in round 20 of a draft. That's on YouTube if you want to check that out. Second riser, JJ McCarthy up 2.9 spots on DraftKings to 116 overall. Also up 3.2 spots on Underdog to 124. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. We've already spent a ton of time this offseason talking about JJ McCarthy and the Vikings. Just wanted to highlight that I think his ADP is going to continue to rise. So I'm trying to take him plenty right now. Offensive environment is elite. Vikings were in the top tier of that exercise I did with Mark and Jack last week about offensive environments. Weaponry is really strong. Scheme is elite. McCarthy's an underrated athlete. The ADP gap between McCarthy at 116 and guys like Bo Nix at 91, Jared Goff at 102, that's just way too wide for me. Third and final riser is Jaylen Herz, up 1.5 spots on DraftKings, 2.4 spots on Underdog. Hertz is now going 47th overall on UD and 45th overall on DraftKings. Just blows my mind that he would go higher on DraftKings than Underdog. Underdog scoring favors elite quarterback, favors rushing quarterbacks so much heavily. I honestly think all 4 elite quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Jaylen Herz, I think they all go too late on Underdog and wide receivers go too high. Hertz actually goes a couple spots higher on DraftKings versus Underdog. And I mean, quarterbacks worth significantly less because of full PPR on DK, 20-round rosters. You can easily draft 3 quarterbacks. Just wide receivers and tight ends in the earlier rounds are generally worth more on DraftKings. But on Hertz specifically, floor is just wild. I mean, Hertz has rushed for 13, 15, and 14 touchdowns the last 3 seasons. If the Eagles regress defensively, if they regress rushing the ball, I mean, I don't think they will, but if they do, we will see Jaylen Hertz pass volume spike, and that's how he really goes nuts and breaks fantasy. Regardless, though, I still think the pass volume is going to come up even if they do sustain on defense and running the ball. Eagles had just 448 throws last season, dead last in the NFL. In 2023, they had 563 throws, 21st. In 2022, 536 throws, 23rd. So bottom line is I sprinkle in some Jaylen Hertz on DraftKings. I don't love his price spiking there. But on Underdog, where I'm often trying to get one of the top 4 quarterbacks, especially in smaller field contests, I still really like that Hertz price. All right. Thanks to everyone for listening. We are starting to ramp up the shows and videos now. So if you have not subscribed to the Established to Run podcast on audio or YouTube, be sure you are by searching for it anywhere podcasts are found. Also, be sure you're following me on Twitter for a ton more player takes at Adam Levitan. We'll be back later this week with Silva to discuss his latest rankings changes and all of the latest news fallout. For producer Ryan, for the data side team helping me to track these ADP moves, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.